Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the ASCAP Presents NightBird Studios series with Julian Lennon. We are thrilled to be broadcasting live from the world-famous NightBird Studios in Los Angeles. Tonight, we have ASCAP's songwriter-producer Jed Leiber, the owner of NightBird, chatting with Julian live about his brand new album, Everything Changes. We'll be taking some questions from Julian's fans on Twitter in a few minutes, but first, take it away, Jed and Julian.
Thank you, Eitan. Hi, I'm Jed Leiber, the unofficial Phantom of the Marquee. That is the Phantom of the Sunset Marquee Hotel. Down here underground is NightBird Recording Studios, and I am truly honored to have a music institution as essential as ASCAP present this episode of NightBird TV on Google Hangout. I am also truly honored and thrilled to share a behind-the-scenes look at the singular, timeless artist, Julian Lennon.
Too kind. Too kind.
Not too kind, the truth, and thank you so much for coming to
My pleasure.
Really,
My absolute
really,
pleasure.
Honestly, if you had told me 2 years ago when we met that this would be happening, I would never.
No, me neither.
Right.
A lot of work has been done in this studio since, that's for sure.
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
Of course not.
And you keep such regular hours.
I do keep very regular hours.
Right, not rock and roll or anything like that.
No, I'm a good boy.
Yes. Moving right along. Before we start talking about the music,
Sure.
which speaks for itself, it's really another level.
Thank you.
As a multimedia artist, I'm interested in the album cover.
Right.
How did you come about that image?
Well, I fell very much in love with photography a few years ago, and I wanted to do so. I've always been involved in the artwork with all my albums, and I wanted to do something a little more unique and a little special this time. And I'd been doing a lot of work with lupus, which is represented by a butterfly, and I kept seeing images of butterflies everywhere for the last couple of years. And I said, I've got to introduce a way of including a butterfly in some way, shape, or form with the photography, with the artwork, and I had no idea how to do that. And then I started to work with a guy called Simon Ryan, who I said, listen, I've got all these photographs, and I've got this idea of a butterfly. How can we meld this? So he proposed coming up with the idea of having the butterfly stencil, something not quite the norm. And then including the photographs within the stencil. I thought that was a great idea. So then it was a question of building up, having a different butterfly for each song, and within each butterfly, within each stencil would be photographic representations or thereabouts of the song titles or song lyrics. And so it was a lot of work trying to get the imagery just right, and it was just my perspective. Doesn't mean that other people can't think differently about how the songs affect them emotionally, but I just wanted to have a visual interpretation of what I was doing and felt comfortable with, and it was a great project to do. And the actual pieces have now turned into a box set, and they're prints that you can buy. So I mean, I'm very fond of them, and I hold them dear. So
prints are great.
They're special.
Yeah,
they're beautiful.
Yeah. I like them. And it's interesting that you chose the butterfly. I mean, the connotations of the butterfly
Indeed.
kind of work for you in some respects, no?
Yeah, I think I think they work for most of us, really. I mean, it's everything changes. Life is constant. Change is constant, shall I say? And that we're forever metamorphosizing.
Yes.
And this album, and this year especially, turning 50, it was,
39.
39 was a special year because I felt more comfortable in my skin than ever before. More true to myself as an artist than ever before, on every level, and so more at peace in my own heart and mind. So that's a good thing.
We can hear it, and you can see it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
And coming from I think it was multi-platinum debut album.
Right.
Some would say, your fans might think of you as being maybe a little reclusive, maybe caterpillar-like, I don't know, for lack of a better image.
Social caterpillar, yes.
When did that change since everything
Well, I mean, I've
changed?
always been pretty shy. You know, I've never been too outward-going, really.
Right.
A little mad on the odd occasion, but you know, I do like my privacy. I do like to be able to, you know, walk down in the local town or village and go to the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. I like to do that stuff, and I can do that, and it's. I think that's a fortunate place to be when you can be respected for your work and seen as an artist, and enjoy the respect that comes with that. But I'm certainly have never been in this for the game of being famous. It's all about the art and all about the work for me. And so, to be able to have that life has been extraordinary. I mean, there were in days gone by which you know, I couldn't do that, but because I've mellowed and, you know, I've taken a different.
It's also finding yourself,
yeah,
isn't it? Right?
And I've taken a different approach to life. You know, I've taken hold of what I'm doing with myself and with work. And I'm the one guiding the ship here as best as I can, you know. Whereas before, I think very much it was controlled by a lot of other people, you know.
Well, there's the machine.
Yeah, the machine of the industry. Yeah, absolutely.
When you listen to the lyrics on this record, there's a truth in the lyric, and there's a truth to yourself in there, I think, that does not come out of writing songs to please.
No.
Those songs.
Well, I think I'm asking or making social commentary about issues the way anybody else would, you know. I mean, it's from my perspective.
Much about anybody else, but.
Well, I'm, you know, it's from my perspective, and I just try to be true about that. You know, I never try to. It's never been a position of mine to tell people what to do in any way, shape or form. It's all about people making their own minds up, you know. I think that's only fair, and that everybody should be able to do that, and me included. So it's all about just, again, laying it on the table, and letting people, you know, decide for themselves what they feel and think, or what emotions come from the work that I do.
Well, I think that's the part of the art and the craft that you've mastered, which is that there is something very personal about the song.
Sure.
Yet you also leave enough room for the individual to take from it their own experience.
Very much so.
And relate to it in their own way. And that's a very difficult thing to achieve. Right?
Yeah,
as a writer.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I mean, you know, when I really got serious about songwriting, it became the most important thing. You know, I felt that my goal here was to be the best songsmith that I could be. And for me, a song is very much about, you know, it's very much a marriage. The music of a song has to tell a particular story. The melody of the song has to tell a particular story, and the lyrics too. They all have to tell the same story independently. And when those all come together, that becomes a real marriage, when everything is saying the same thing, and that's when I get goosebumps. And so it's, you know, it's getting to that point in the songwriting process, and then the recording, the expressing of that.
To life, right.
That's when I'm happy about the work, really happy about the work, and that's when I let it go, and you know, off.
Fly.
So you know, you know, I hope other people appreciate it.
Well, I do, and from what I've heard so far, many people do and will.
Thank
is there
you, sir.
something? Yeah, of course. Is there something that is a particularly good example of those different elements coming together for you? Is there one song on the record where you felt like, you know, there was that magic kind of, you know, how some songs you really have to work, and some songs are almost channeled?
I felt that most of the work on this album, if not all of it, was very much that. Yeah, and I've said this briefly before, that this is probably the first album, and I do mean that I don't twitch when I hear a certain part of a song, or I don't wish I'd re-recorded it, or and that's a rarity for an artist to actually. But also, there are mistakes in the album too. But I love mistakes because mistakes can be things that completely change things around and turn things around. I think some of the best songs in the world came out of mistakes,
and some of the best photographs,
too. Seriously, so it's an enjoyable process, but probably the one that's most, I guess, heartfelt. And the one that I've seen has really hit people hard is Beautiful, which is a song about is about people that are past in our lives, and it's about the fact that they really are, that we all come from stardust, we all go back to stardust, and that we all are part of everything. We really are. And so it's about the fact that even though we've lost people that we've loved in our lives, they still exist. They still live on within the ether and within our emotions and spirits, heart and souls.
Before we started, I whispered to you, "Beautiful."
Yes.
That one.
Well, yeah.
Not that the rest aren't.
No, thank you.
But that one really got me.
It's an emotional
beautiful.
One. Yeah.
Really is.
Yeah. It's a song that everybody can relate to.
Yeah.
Absolutely everybody.
Well, that's the sign of a great song, isn't it?
I believe so. Yeah.
You mentioned, souls and so on and so forth, and there are all of these paths that cross in our lives, and a dear friend of both of ours made your first record, Phil Ramone.
Yes, yeah.
And I had an encounter with him not too long ago at the it was the Songwriters Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I saw him backstage, and believe it or not, I had written or channeled or whatever it was, a song that I can't look at yet from my dad.
Right.
And he said, "Don't worry, Jed," he said, "we'll produce it together." And then I remembered that he had produced your first record.
That's correct.
And you had a very close relationship.
First and second record. Yeah, I mean, we lost touch over the years, but I mean, the really odd thing was that we'd bumped into each other at the Lupus Gala event last year. He was there because his wife Karen suffers from lupus, and it was he was in great form, which is what hearing the news of his passing was such a surprise. He was in great form, and we actually we had a good laugh, and we talked about working together again, and so that's why it was very, very sad to hear that. My condolences go out to the family, his family, and Karen and everybody else.
I think he's listening and very happy
I'm
for
sure.
you. Yeah,
I'm
he's got
sure.
pretty good ears, doesn't he?
I know. He was a very good teacher too. He's a very, very good teacher and a good man.
Moving on for a moment to the recording experience.
Sure.
I know that you had a very conservative collaborator down here.
Right.
Stephen Tyler, I know.
Yeah.
Was he dressed in Brooks Brothers that day?
He was all over the place.
He was. What was that like?
Working with Stephen?
Force of nature, right?
He was without question the force of nature. That man has stories, stories upon stories. There needs to be
I think you should
volumes of books written by him. I should interview him. But what a great guy. I mean, funny as hell. The knowledge and his memory is astonishing.
Yes.
I really have trouble remembering what I had for lunch yesterday. I mean, truly. It was an honor to work with him, to sing a little bit on the Aerosmith album, but also for us to be able to, co-write a song and record it here at NightBird. So it was an absolute joy, and the fact that we managed to do it in 2 hours, from start to finish, from nothing, from the ether to finished product, near enough in 2 hours was astonishing.
You know what? For me, the best stuff comes
Old school.
quickly.
Yeah, no,
and
true.
if you get the right people in a room, it happens.
Yeah. I feel I'm an old pro in there too. So we're all
old 39.
pro.
Remember?
Oh yeah, 39. I know.
I'm getting a time warning here, so I'm going to move on to something which I think is important.
Sure.
I'm very interested in your photography. I know you have a wonderful exhibit up here at the Sunset Marquee, which is on.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're going to do touring with that and so on and so forth. I wanted to talk about White Feather, this foundation that you started, which is very special.
Sure.
And I would like everybody to hear the story of how you came up with the name.
It's a long story. I will try and keep it short and sweet. I was on tour in Australia with the last album, and I was summoned to the lobby of the hotel by the management saying there's an Aboriginal tribe in the lobby that would like to see you. And I said, excuse me? They said, no, there's seriously a group of Aboriginal people here to see you. I said, all right, well, I'll come down, I'll check it out. Lo and behold, I mean, there was about 20 or 30 people. The elders came up to me with a male swan's white feather, which is about yay big, and they gave it to me and said, you have a voice, can you help us? And at that point in time, I got a little goosebumpy because Dad said to me if there was one way of showing me that he was all right or everything was going to be all right, it would be in the sign of a white feather. And I went, oi, all right, so does that mean stepping up to the plate? Yes, it does. So I heard their story, found out that they were kicked off their land by the government onto warring tribes for they were doing nuclear testing. So I made a documentary, spanned over 10 years about their story and the plight of other tribes around the world. And
what's the name of the documentary?
Documentary is called Whale Dreamers. We won about 8 international documentary film awards for that. So I mean, we did well.
You did the music as well, didn't you?
I did. I re-recorded a reggae version of Saltwater, which was a little more hopeful, but that was the end track. Anyway, I thought, well, listen, if the documentary makes money, what's the best way to be able to give this back to the tribes, so that they can keep their culture alive, etc., etc., etc. And the director and myself came up with the idea of the White Feather Foundation because of that incident, and so I set that up so that we would be able to give monies back to the what they were called the Mourning people, and to be able to, at that point in time, there were a lot of other sort of smaller charities that didn't have a voice either. So White Feather Foundation became a sort of umbrella charity for those smaller without a voice and without funding, and we've now taken on much bigger projects. We're dealing with, this is the year of water, so we're dealing with pumps around the world and education and helping those in need. And we did our first event about a month ago, which was
a huge success. Yes,
and we hope to bring the event over to the States and to do that again to help all those in need.
I wanted to point out to you that I think that you've given your fans and the world with your music a white feather. I have to tell you on a personal note, when I lost my dad, I didn't know who to talk to. Yeah. And I thought, who in the world would understand what I'm going through? Sure. And I remember reaching out to you, and you sent me an email. And I think that was a white feather that was very much needed. So thank you for that. Why don't we have some questions maybe from the Google fans out there? From Julian's fans?
Sure thing. We collected a couple questions that came in through from your Twitter followers.
Okay.
And this first one is from Christian Palucci at KPags35, and she asked, where do you get the inspiration for your songs? Personal experience, epiphany-like ideas? And she followed up by saying, Grand Slam on Everything Changes.
Well, thank you very much. All of the above. Through circumstances and experiences that I live in life, and also that I see other friends go through. There are moments when you're lying in bed and you're just trying to get to sleep, and sudden thoughts and emotions come into your head about things that have happened over the past month, again, whether it's in your life or about the world situation, and I just feel driven to write about them, so and do it in the most honest and truthful way and the most relatable way possible.
Great. We have Joey Martin at Avant Parker, who asks, everything changes is a true masterpiece. Will there be more albums in the future? And are you writing more songs now?
Not at the moment. Listen, I'm barely getting out of
the guy a break over
here. I'm getting out the start gate on this, promoting this one. I mean, there's going to be a fair amount of promotion with this one. Quality, not quantity.
Well spoken.
So, there's not only that to do, but also because of the photography that I'm involved with. I've got exhibitions all over the world that I need to tend to, and there are other photographic projects that are lined up for the next year or so. I'll get around to it, but also, who knows about going on the road? I mean, we'll discuss that, but
who knows?
Who knows?
On, Jules.
Well, we'll see, but we'll talk about that. But that's I will continue songwriting, no question about that. But at the moment, it's about doing a bit of promotion for this album and continuing what I truly love, which is the photography at the moment.
Well, that more or less answered the last question from Caesar R. at CRobbins956 asked, is a tour something you're interested in doing at this point in time?
Not right now.
You're going to tour your debut upstairs, right?
I have played every kind, every size venue that there is around the world over the years. It's been 30 years of that. But I think I'd like to try and do something a little more special this time around. I did a show on the last tour in Hong Kong with the Hong Kong Philharmonic Orchestra and my band, and for me it was because of the kind of material that I write, very orchestral. It was the most incredible experience I'd ever had. So what I'm aiming to do down the road, I guess, when I get the right sponsorship behind me, is to do one night only charity events in major cities around the world with a full or partial orchestra. That's my dream, and if that comes together next year, then you'll see me.
But you've got the sponsorship.
Voila.
Thank you, Jules.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Julian.
My pleasure.
Again, thank you for an incredible album and for sharing that and debuting it here. It's truly an honor.
Thank you.
I can't wait for everyone to hear it and for everyone to see your wonderful photographs. And this foundation is truly important.
Thank you.
And I'm not the only one that thinks so. I think your casual friends, the prince and princess, agree with me. So I guess we're not in horrible company.
No, not bad.
As usual. I would really like to thank you on behalf of ASCAP and also Google and everyone here at NightBird and all of the many fans who have been waiting for the flight of your butterfly.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Jed.
Pleasure.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
After my interview with Julian Lennon and some pestering and the common decency of a NightBird reach around, that was Julian, he agreed to come in and do an acoustic version of Someday. He's going to be coming down here any moment, and you are in for something quite special. There's nothing like hearing an artist like this with a great song playing live to you from NightBird Recording Studios.
Words unspoken. someday nothing stays the same. When you're lost and when you're broken, all that's left remains words unspoken. We're all in it together someday, someday. One love now and forever someday, someday. Well, it's not about right or wrong, or how far down the road we've gone. Oh, it's just about holding on. We're all in it together someday, someday. One love now and forever someday, someday.
Yeah.
Cut! Cut!